There is a silent force shaping the world at this very moment, and it doesn't come from powerful leaders or secret conspiracies. It comes from ordinary people convinced they know, when in reality they know nothing. Ignorance is not just the absence of knowledge, it is the illusion of possessing it. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone vehemently defend an idea they never truly studied? How many times have you done it yourself? The answer is there, uncomfortable, waiting for you to acknowledge it, because the greatest danger to a society doesn't lie in those who admit they don't know. It lies in those who believe they know and thus shape collective thought without realizing the damage they cause. Socrates said more than 2,000 years ago that true wisdom begins with the admission of one's own ignorance. But what was he really saying? That there is a type of ignorance that is conscious, humble, and there is another type that is arrogant, dangerous, contagious. This second type is what we're living today, amplified by technologies that transform shallow opinions into truths shared millions of times. The question isn't whether you're ignorant or not. We are all ignorant in countless areas of human existence. The question is, do you know that you are? And more importantly, are you willing to recognize it? Because when ignorance disguises itself as certainty, it doesn't just limit the individual, it spreads like a virus, infecting entire communities, entire nations, building false realities on foundations of sand. Think about the last time you saw a debate on social media. It doesn't matter the topic: politics, health, education, relationships. What do you see? People fighting, accusing, sentencing, judging. And the most frightening part, few of them actually studied the subject they defend with such fervor. They read a headline, watched a video, heard someone who heard someone, and now they carry that as absolute truth. Psychology calls this the Dunning-Kruger effect. The less we know about something, the more confident we feel in our opinion. It's paradoxical, but it explains so many things. It explains why people without medical training make diagnoses on the internet, why people without economic understanding propose miraculous solutions to complex crises, why people without experience in education say exactly how teachers should teach. Ignorance, when unconscious, generates a false sense of mastery, and when that sense finds an audience, it transforms into a movement. Look, I'm not talking about malice, I'm talking about something more subtle and, for that very reason, more dangerous. These people don't wake up thinking about destroying critical thought or manipulating masses. They genuinely believe they're helping, that they're enlightening others, that they're sharing important truths. And it's exactly this good intention, disguised as certainty, that makes everything so treacherous. When someone consciously lies, we can identify and combat it. But when someone firmly believes a lie and propagates it with passion, how do you argue against that? How do you dismantle a conviction rooted in someone's identity? Historically, we see this happen repeatedly. Galileo was condemned not by scientists who knew he was right, but by people who were so certain of their model of the universe that they didn't even consider the possibility of being wrong. The Inquisition wasn't commanded by people who doubted. It was commanded by people who had absolute certainty, and that certainty killed, tortured, silenced. The same dynamic repeats today, except now the stakes are digital. The condemnations happen in comments, and the lynching is done through likes and shares. But here's the part few talk about. We all participate in this. Each of us, at some point, was the ignorant person who didn't know they were ignorant. Each of us has spread information without verifying it, has defended an idea without studying it deeply, has judged someone based on fragments of context. And it's okay to admit this. In fact, admitting this is the first step to breaking the cycle, because when you recognize your own capacity to be wrong, you develop empathy for others who are also wrong. You stop seeing the world as a battle between the enlightened and the ignorant, and start seeing it as a collective journey where we're all stumbling, learning, correcting. So how exactly does this unconscious ignorance manipulate entire societies? Let me show you. First, it creates tribes. When someone clings to a belief without solid foundation, that belief becomes identity. And when identity is at stake, any questioning is perceived as a personal attack. Thus, groups form. Those who believe this versus those who believe that. And the more they attack each other, the more each side closes itself in its own bubbles, the more radicalized they become, the more they stop listening. Society then fragments, not because of real differences in values, but because of differences in narratives that neither side actually investigated. Second, this ignorance hijacks public discourse. The loudest voices aren't the most informed, they're the most confident. And confidence without knowledge is just arrogance in disguise. So you have people occupying debate spaces, shaping opinions, influencing decisions without real qualification to be there. And worse, because they speak with such conviction, others believe them. After all, certainty is seductive, doubt is uncomfortable. So we follow those who offer us easy answers, even when those answers are completely disconnected from reality. Third, this ignorance blocks progress. When an entire society embraces a false idea, it stops searching for the true one. Why look further if you already have the answer? Why study if you already know? Why question if you're already right? Civilizations have fallen because of this, not from lack of resources or external invasions, but from becoming intellectually stagnant, trapped in dogmas that no one questioned anymore. If this idea has already resonated with you, imagine what comes next. Subscribe so you don't miss this journey. Now let's go deeper. Why is it so hard to break from this? Why, even when confronted with facts, do people continue defending their unfounded beliefs? The answer lies in neuroscience and evolutionary psychology. Our brain wasn't designed to seek truth. It was designed to seek survival. And for thousands of years, belonging to a group was literally a matter of life and death. Being expelled from the tribe meant certain death. So we developed deep mechanisms of social conformity. We adapt our beliefs to the group we belong to, even when those beliefs are irrational, even when evidence says otherwise. This means that when you question someone's belief, you're not just questioning an idea, you're threatening their sense of belonging. And the primitive brain interprets this as a threat to survival. That's why the reaction is so visceral, so emotional, so defensive. It's not stubbornness, it's existential fear disguised as conviction. Have you noticed how much easier it is to accept information that confirms what you already believe? And how almost painful it is to process information that contradicts your beliefs? This has a name: confirmation bias. And we all have it, without exception. But there's an even deeper secret that few know. Ignorance isn't just an individual problem. It's systematically cultivated. We live in a society that rewards quick answers, not deep reflection. That values strong opinions, not nuanced thinking. That rewards whoever speaks loudest, not whoever thinks clearest. Our educational system teaches right answers, but rarely teaches how to ask good questions. It teaches what to think, but not how to think. And worse, our social media algorithms are programmed to show us more of what we already agree with, creating echo chambers where our beliefs, however unfounded, are constantly validated and reinforced. So it's no accident that we live in an era of unprecedented polarization. It's no accident that established scientific truths are treated as debatable opinions. It's no accident that experts are discredited while influencers without credentials are idolized. All of this is the predictable result of a system that favors emotional engagement over factual accuracy, that favors entertainment over education, that favors tribalism over critical thinking. The real revelation here is this: the greatest manipulation doesn't come from those who want to deceive you. It comes from yourself, believing you already know enough not to need to learn more. The greatest manipulation is what we do to ourselves, closing our minds to new information because it threatens the comfort of our current certainties. And when millions do this simultaneously, when entire societies close themselves in their respective bubbles of unquestioned certainty, we don't need dictators to control thought. We do it ourselves, voluntarily, proudly, defending our mental prisons as if they were treasures. Plato described this in the allegory of the cave more than 2,000 years ago. Prisoners chained in a cave see shadows on the wall and believe those shadows are reality. When one of them is freed and sees the real world outside, he returns to tell the others. How do they react? With gratitude? With curiosity? No, with hostility. They call him crazy. They threaten to kill him. Because he's destroying the only reality they know, the only reality they're comfortable with. This is the human condition, and it hasn't changed. The cave now has Wi-Fi. The chains are now made of convenience and dopamine. The shadows are now infinite feeds and viral videos. But the principle is the same. We prefer the comfort of our shared illusions to the uncomfortable search for truth. So what do we do with all this? How do we break this cycle? The answer isn't in convincing others they're wrong. The answer is in cultivating epistemic humility in ourselves. Epistemic humility is recognizing the limits of one's own knowledge. It's understanding that no matter how much you know, it's infinitely less than there is to know. It's exchanging arrogant certainty for genuine curiosity. It's asking more and affirming less. It's seeking to understand before being understood. When you do this, something magical happens. You stop seeing disagreements as battles to win and start seeing them as opportunities to learn. You stop dividing the world between allies and enemies and start seeing complex human beings, each carrying their own stories, traumas, fears, hopes. You stop propagating unfounded certainties and start asking better questions, and better questions lead to better conversations. Better conversations lead to mutual understanding. Mutual understanding leads to healthier societies. Real transformation doesn't begin with political reforms or social revolutions. It begins with you, alone, in the silence of your thoughts, having the courage to admit, I don't know. And it's okay not to know. In fact, not knowing is the beginning of all true wisdom. So here's your mission, if you choose to accept it. Next week, every time you feel the urge to share something, to defend something, to affirm something, pause. Ask yourself, do I really know this? Have I studied this deeply? Or am I just repeating something I heard that confirmed my worldview? And if the answer is the latter, have the courage to remain silent. Have the courage to learn before teaching. Have the courage to doubt before decreeing. Because the world doesn't need more ignorant people pretending to be certain. The world needs wise people admitting their doubts. People brave enough to question themselves. People humble enough to change their minds when evidence demands it. People compassionate enough to understand that we're all fighting our own ignorance, trying to make sense of a vastly complex universe with limited brains and finite time. This is the only revolution that matters, the revolution of consciousness, the revolution of humility, the revolution of recognizing that ignorance is not shame. The shame is in pretending it doesn't exist. And when you embrace your ignorance, when you accept it as a permanent companion on the human journey, you paradoxically become wiser than those who claim to have all the answers. If this message touched something in you, if it resonated with some truth you already intuited but never verbalized, don't let it die here. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Comment below your own experience with ignorance, with certainties you discovered were false, with the courage to change your mind. And subscribe to this channel, because we're going to continue this journey together, exploring the frontiers of human thought, questioning what we accept as given, and seeking not easy answers, but better questions. Because in the end, we're not measured by the answers we memorize. We're measured by the questions we dare to ask.